time I try to be let's record. Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Every time I try to be honest,
Yeah.
Whit tells me I'm being mean. And so I'm like, I guess I don't know how to be honest without it sounding rude. Because I'll be texting somebody like, I'm having an issue with you in this area. And he's like, I cannot believe you said that to them. That is so rude.
So what do you do?
I just don't do honesty.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you do. But
just say everything's fine.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I don't understand how you, Whit, can say whatever you want to say and it's fine. And whenever I say it, like I'll be at a restaurant and I'm like, I didn't get any silverware yet. And he's like, that's so rude.
Oh, interesting. It's interesting what makes different personalities uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like like you saying that would make him uncomfortable. You want me to tell you what made me uncomfortable the other day?
Yeah.
I got a phone call. And it was the place. Okay, first of all, I know I've got a cushy life and my dogs were at doggy daycare.
Ridiculous.
I know it is ridiculous, but they have so much energy and there's certain days that I look at my kids' schedule and I'm like, no way do my kids have time to run the dogs today. And if they don't get run, they're going to dig holes through the back fence and then they escape. And it's like, why did I get these dogs? And anyway, so they go to doggy daycare occasionally.
Let me tell you what you do. You
Let
get a
them run
sedative and you bury it in their food and then they sleep. They're fine. They're fine. Just drug your dogs.
Are we going to get arrested for saying that?
Just kidding. I've never done that.
Oh my goodness.
I've never
You're making
done
me
that.
nervous.
I have lazy dogs. So
Okay, well, I don't. I have super active dogs. And so they're at doggy daycare and I got a call and I see that it's doggy daycare. So I answer it because I think, oh no, one of the dogs got hurt.
Yeah.
And this girl that sounded probably 20 years younger than me started having a very uncomfortable conversation with me. And she's like, Mrs. Job, I've got your dogs here at doggy daycare. And I was like, yeah, is everything okay? Well, actually, and this is what she said to me. Actually, Samson is mounting other dogs. I was like, okay, would you like me to come pick my dogs up? No. We just want to let you know that it's causing issues.
Samson is a teenager, a teenage male dog. What are you going to do about it?
It's causing behavioral issues. So I said, what would you like me to take away from this conversation? Because I'm not sure what to do right now. And she said, well, we just wanted to let you know if it continues, he's not going to be able to go to daycare. And I was like, okay, so maybe at home you could work with him. And I go, I assure you, he's not mounting things at home. So there's different conversations that make different personalities uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I say, let's dive into some of those on today's podcast.
Fun.
So believe it or not, we're in the very last episode of season 2.
I can't believe it.
I can. It seems like when you record during the summer, it kind of seems like we've been going at this for a while.
Yeah.
So I guess you want to introduce us to our listeners.
So if you haven't met us yet, I'm Heather. This is Jamie.
The one with the dog that has issues at school.
And this is Life in Motion, a podcast where we talk about life, the ups, the downs, everything in between, even the stuff we're not supposed to talk about. So let's get started. So at the end of the season, we did this last season. Yeah. And we're going to do it again today. We're taking questions from listeners, like their most pressing questions or topics they want us to talk about or what have you. And we're just on the fly. We're just going to answer them to the best of our abilities, which is possibly not very good. We're going to surface our
them.
Non-professional opinion.
Yeah, yes, our non-professional opinion. So we're going to bring them into the light and talk about them and go from there. And I guess let's get started. Okay, so, oh my goodness, this is from a friend that was in our mid-sized group. Rock and Rhonda here. You remember Rhonda? Rock and Rhonda here. Not all of your viewer demographic is young, as I will represent the 50-plus age group here. I just wanted to add that I have actually had my ex-husband live with my husband and children and I in our home. He didn't have anywhere to live, and my husband had never met him before that. And Rhonda. And he and my husband used to hang out and go play golf, etc. together. Super weird, I know. Yes, Rhonda, super weird. And everything remained above board and healthy boundaries were kept. So is it possible to still be best friends with an ex? while keeping your spouse as numero uno in your life. But I do totally agree that if you have to ask yourself if it's okay and justify things to yourself, it's probably completely not okay. Such great points you brought up, ladies. Thanks for the topic. So Heather, can Rock and Rhonda be best friends with her ex-husband who also lives with her and her husband and her children?
You know what? I think you can.
Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
Well, I think that for the sake of the kids, that you should at least be friendly.
Absolutely.
But to be able to be friends and still have that family unit, I think brings a lot of peace to the kids. You know who else does this?
Who does this?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my goodness. So Rhonda, if you want to just study the life of Gwyneth Paltrow.
No, don't. Okay. But I have heard that Chris Martin will stay with her when he's in town and just stay at their house so he doesn't have to have his own house in LA.
I feel as uncomfortable right now. Like I even feel like I might be a little red. I feel as uncomfortable with this as with Samson mounting.
Why?
Because I have two different answers.
Okay.
Should Rhonda and her ex-husband be friends? They have children. Absolutely. They should have a level of friendship. And I think that all bets are off. Like when we recorded that episode about men and women being friends, since we're not divorced, that particular didn't come to mind while we were talking. And I do think that if your marriage dissolves and you have kids, you've got to find a way to work together for your children. Should your ex-husband be your best friend? And should your ex-husband live with you and your husband and your children? That's where I got to draw a line.
Well, he's not continually living with them. He's just staying there until he finds his own place, gets on his feet.
He didn't have anywhere to live.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want him homeless.
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed.
I'm going to hold to my gut instinct of if you have to ask the question, then maybe you already know the answer.
Well, what she doesn't say, though, which we don't know.
True.
And I'm speculating to the positive. You might be speculating to the negative.
Which is kind of who we are.
Which is that her current husband is in agreement and doesn't have a problem with it as well, is that's what I'm hearing. Because
I actually hear that too, and I go, why don't you have a problem with this? I'm very concerned. Anyway.
I'm not concerned.
Rhonda, Heather's not concerned. I am. See you at church. I don't know where we go from there, but
I love Rhonda. She is awesome.
Okay, let's move on because that one made me uncomfortable. Okay. I'm going to ask this question, but maybe just kind of skirt around it for the privacy of this person. They were very bold in asking. This is a young mother with a mother-in-law that's basically never shown interest in her life at all. They have their first child. Mother-in-law wants to just come and be over all the time. Like all the time.
Yeah.
Not asking permission. I think the new mom I need a little space to bond with the baby. Mother-in-law comes in town anyway. How do you handle that?
Well, boundaries.
Yeah.
But I think that in this situation, the new mom and her husband have to be in agreement for talking to the mother-in-law. The burden shouldn't be on the daughter-in-law to figure it out and have the conversation, but really it needs to be her and her husband working together to talk to the mother-in-law and figuring out where are the boundaries, when's an appropriate time to visit, how long, and all of that. And what's hard as a new mom and as a young person is that you don't realize, even with the tension in the relationship, how wonderful and how valuable family can be in helping in certain situations, especially with a new baby, because you're going to go through all different stages with the baby, and it's so wonderful to have help and relationship with your family. And those clear boundaries of where do you stand and where can you come over and where are you welcome and what do I need for the peace of my home and the relationship with my husband and my children. The clearer that you can be about that, the better. And gracious to her, because you don't want to drive her away.
This is what's so hard about answering questions on the fly like this. We don't know the whole story. Mm-hmm. There may be boundaries that they end up instilling that cause the relationship to dissolve. And if they were important enough boundaries to put up, then it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I will say it doesn't matter that this goes on to say mother-in-law is not a believer, doesn't believe in God. So be it. If you're a Christian, you're still called to walk according to certain standards. And the Bible says, as much as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone.
Yeah.
So you do your part. What can you do? As much as it depends on me, I'm going to live at peace with my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And if that means boundaries and she can't come over and that's going to allow you to live at peace, great. Mm-hmm. And I would echo what you say. I think even, I don't know that the mother-in-law is crazy, but I think even crazy mothers, grandmothers, what have you, really want what's best for their kids and grandkids and really internally love their family.
They might not be expressing it appropriately.
Right.
Who knows the whole backstory here of why
How
the
has she been
mother-in-law
hurt?
hasn't been involved up until this point.
Yeah.
But to be able to say, you're welcome on Tuesdays and Thursdays from noon to 4 or 6 to 8 or whatever.
Finding ways to show love, even like, can you preemptively, is that the right way? Can you send a daily or weekly picture?
Yeah.
Hey, just thought you might want to see the baby. Mm-hmm. Oh, look at this. We did this today. I thought you might like it. Let me show you some pictures. I mean, what can you do to live at peace and to do your best to show love, even if they're unworthy? Mm-hmm. She may be unworthy of your love, but there's probably nobody that loves your baby quite like a grandmama does.
Yeah.
It's just true. Good luck. I like the very first thing you said, Heather, and I think maybe we should end on that part before wrapping this question is, this isn't something you should be having to do alone.
Yeah.
Your husband, who has the maternal tie with this woman, should play a part and should help and establish the boundaries. So that's a tough one.
It is tough.
Tough one. Okay, Heather, what's the value of mentoring relationships and how do you develop them?
Well, to me, the value of a mentor relationship is that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And the person that you are today is going to look back in 5 or 10 years and go and just say to yourself, oh my gosh, I was such a dummy. I had no idea. Or, you've got some sort of standards set, like an 18-year-old has a list of, this is the man I'm going to marry, and he's going to be tall with dark hair, and he's going to work in the oil industry or whatever it might be. And then, so you have your sights set on that thing, and you eliminate a whole bunch of stuff from your life because this is the way that it should be. So a mentor can help you see, but maybe you need a blonde-haired guy, or whatever it might be. But a mentor can present to you wisdom that you don't see for yourself in that moment.
I watch back on YouTube. I watch back our podcasts, and I'm always really bothered by how dramatic I can be. But you're funny. You're really funny. It's hard to not laugh. So Heather believes that you need a mentor in case you're about to marry somebody with dark hair and it should be blonde.
That's a very simple example.
Oh, I got you going now,
okay,
too.
That is a very simple example, but you just don't know. Like you're parenting your kids a certain way, or you think that the only option for you is to go to a certain school, or the only... it's like if you're in the nursing industry and you're thinking, my path to my career is this, and you have a mentor that's a nurse that's been in the business for 20 years, can say, oh, but there is this option to advance your career, or there's these opportunities.
So good.
It's just like you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. We're blind to so many different things in our lives. So mentor, I think, is essential.
How do you find a mentor? That was part of the question. And that is going to be a bit more difficult because I've had a couple of people, because I'm middle-aged, like reach out to me and ask me if I would be their mentor. And I'd think that's such an odd question, because typically it should come naturally, but not always. Like I think at our church organizationally, we have several people going through a mentorship program, and it was just an added value to their job, to their workplace position, where they're meeting with people weekly or monthly or whatever for the course of a year. And this person's pouring into them relationally and professionally and things like that. So that was a very structured mentorship process. But when I think about who speaks into my life as a parent or things like that, those are people that I have invested relationally with. I think about Leanne Ward and how, oh my goodness, she was on staff at our church when Brian and I went through premarital counseling. She sat in on our premarital counseling. And then she and I led small groups together. And then she's a generation above me.
Yeah.
And I trust her, but we had relationship. I didn't just call her up one day and say, hey, would you
mentor me?
Yeah. So I would say the importance of putting yourself out there, which we talked about earlier in this season about how to make friends, putting yourself out there in a position where you're around people maybe a generation ahead of you. So maybe you don't want to go to your church's bunko night or what have you, but you know you need someone a generation older than you. They're probably not going to the same places you're going. You're going to have to put yourself in proximity to meet some people and see who you click with. And then walk that out.
Well, and even in your workplace, people that are ahead of you, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be, that if you said, hey, I would love to take you to coffee sometime, just to find out how you got to where you're at or whatever it might be, that you're the one that's reaching out and saying, would you just spend a little bit of time with me?
Heather.
And you don't have to put the pressure on of saying, would you be my mentor?
Right.
But just
there's a lot of pressure. So let's toss that part out. There's a lot of pressure that you put on someone if you're going to say, would you be my mentor?
Unless somebody feels like my calling in life is to be a mentor to young moms, or I know a woman that mentors, she has a ministry where she mentors people in the kitchen.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And so to go to her and say, would you mentor me, is one thing. But to somebody who doesn't feel like mentoring is their calling, ask it the question a different way.
That's good. Just ask it a different way.
Can I take you out to coffee?
Yeah.
I'd like to get to know you better. And then have your questions for whatever it might be.
One of the relationships that I enjoy right now in my life so much is I have a small group, which I've thought about folding because I'm in a busy season and it's hard to maintain. We went to lunch yesterday, and so of course every time we get together, I'm not going to let them go. But we're all different ages. We live in the same neighborhood, and so that is what brought us together. Was location.
Yeah.
Not season of life, not age, just location. I started this small group through my church. So now we've been together for 2 years. And we mentor one another. Sometimes you don't have to be the older one to be the mentor, and sometimes you do. So I've had some health issues. I'm eating super healthy and have a lot of dietary restrictions right now. And yesterday at lunch, we're having a goodbye lunch for someone that's moving. And one of my girlfriends was just like, listen, I found out that if you mill your own wheat berries, or something like I've never heard of. If you mill your own wheat berries, that then the enzymes that break down the gluten are still present and your body might be able to handle it. And I was like, I got to ask my functional health doctor before I start eating any of that. But she said, okay, but regardless, I'm going to offer a class at my house where somebody comes in and teaches us how to do it.
Yeah.
And my small group is so fun that I was like, count me in. I'll totally be there.
Yeah.
Now, whether I do it or not, if I end up making my own bread or not,
you could pay somebody to make your own bread.
But anyway, we're gathering together with a kitchen mentor.
Yeah.
It's going to be a one and done. She's going to teach us how to do something and move on. But I'm inviting people to teach me things I wouldn't otherwise know. Heather, do you have a specific mentoring type of story?
I don't necessarily have a mentor, but you don't know what you don't know. And to be able to connect with people that are a couple of steps ahead of you is so encouraging. Getting into the teenage years, you just have no idea what you're getting into. And your kids are all different. They're all approaching life differently. And so with my oldest, he is a boundary pusher. Like, I'm going to get out and do this.
better than
I'm
being
going
a
to
pill
try
pusher.
this. And, it's just like he's going to, he's just like getting out there. And and as a mom, it's terrifying.
Sure.
As a parent, it is like, oh my gosh.
Give me an example of an area where he may have pushed a boundary that makes you like, oh my goodness, what do you mean?
There's so many unknowns that are different than when I was a kid. So having a phone or,
Oh my goodness,
all this stuff that you're like, this is a dangerous world.
Right.
And, they're out doing their thing.
Yeah.
So we have Life 360, which is an app that you log into, and it, when you're driving, it shares your location. It also shows if you've used your phone while you're driving or if you've had any rapid acceleration, hard braking.
Right.
So you can kind of get an idea for how they're driving. But you can also turn it off so that you can go on a drive and you don't know where they're at.
Or just parents, FYI, or you can leave your phone at your friend's house where you say you're going to be and not take it with you so that
you go somewhere else.
You can take a burner phone with you so you can still communicate to people. I'm not even joking.
Trade
parents.
phones with a friend,
just
whatever it might be.
Anyway, carry on.
Yes. So, just FYI, parents, there are so many ways around your rules.
There's a workaround, a loophole for everything.
And my oldest will always find these loopholes. So, I am at my wit's end of what's he doing? Is he getting into trouble? Is he making bad decisions? Some of the people that he's hanging out with are questionable character, but he's at an age where I need you to start making your own decisions about who your friends are. You're not 8 years old anymore. You're 18. You are able to decide, is this person good for me?
Right. Oh, so hard.
So to be able to call a mom that has a kid that's 5 years older than my son, and she can tell me it's going to be okay, that just keep on talking to him, keep on connecting to him, keep praying, whatever it might be, to be able to have a mom to say, I've been there, I had that exact same situation happen, this is what I did, and it's going to be okay, is everything. I mean, being in a situation where you've never been here before, you have no idea how this is going to go, and it's out of your control to a certain extent. To be able to have somebody say it's going to be okay is just everything. It's freedom to be able to just take a deep breath and go, okay.
Yeah. And as a follower of Christ, it's freedom to confide in someone that can mentor you, but then they're not going to leave you where you are. They're going to go to battle praying for you and your kid. They're going to check in on you and your kid. I mean, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, teenagers.
Oh, they're wonderful.
Brian just said to Cooper the other day, he's 16, you're too old for us to make you do anything anymore. But this is what we, expect or whatever. And right when Brian said, we can't make you do anything anymore, I go, oh, yes, we can. Oh, yes, we can. I'm like, what just happened? And he is right. I mean, there's a loophole to everything. He's coming into himself.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Spank your 16-year-old? I mean, there's certain things. 16, I'm taking away the car keys, whatever it might be. There are things you can do.
That's what I said in the family conversation was, if we can't control anything any longer, I, for my own sanity, just need to make it clear to everyone that I can't let you drive a car that we paid for or use a phone that we're paying for if you're not going to adhere by our rules.
Yeah, which is the place that we got to with Fran was, listen, this phone is
man.
dangerous.
Yeah.
So you're not going to use this phone anymore. We're not paying for this anymore. We will pay for you to have this little pocket phone.
Right.
And he used that for a while. And then he was like, fine, I'm going to go buy my own phone.
Fran, when he bought his own phone, I think I have Fran in my phone twice. And once is his original phone number, and that he didn't know if he'd ever get that phone number back or not. So then one, it says, he doesn't even know this, it says Fran the Liberated One. It's like when he cut loose from all restrictions and got his own phone. And that's the one I have now, Fran the Liberated One.
Fran, free Fran.
Free Fran. So. That's good. That's helpful. Gives some insight to
I think about marriage. You get to a place in your marriage where you're like, this is good. We've got this figured out. And then just give it 6 months to a year and you're like, this is hard.
It's hard.
I'm tired of you. And you need somebody that's been married longer than you to tell you it's going to be okay.
Yeah. I love what you said about I don't necessarily have a mentor. No, what you're telling me or what I'm hearing is that you have lots of mentors.
I think lots of people in my life that I can look to and say, tell me about being married for 25 years.
Right. I had a 30-something ask me one time, like wanting me to be her mentor. And I was like, when you say that, what do you mean? Like, define that for me, because I never really had a mentor and I feel like I'm fine. So there's maybe some communication differences in our age. Like, tell me what you mean. And she was saying, well, I'm not married and I'd love to just be a part of a family. I'd love to just like sit on your couch while the family's watching TV and I'd love to. And I go, okay, my family's actually very, very active and busy. So I can give you a key to my house and you can sit on the couch and watch TV, but we're not going to be there. Like in your mind, what you're envisioning isn't real life.
Yeah.
So what I liked hearing you say was multiple mentors. Sometimes you need to lean into different people for different things. Your professional mentor, somebody that can help you move up the ladder professionally, may not be the person you want giving you parenting advice. They might not even have children or what have you.
Yeah.
Expand your circle and bring more people in.
Yeah.
It's good.
Really understand what you're asking when you say, I want a mentor.
Yeah.
What is it that you really want?
Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah.
I like this question because it's obvious that this is a male listener, and I appreciate you guys so much. My wife is pregnant with a baby due in September. What conversations are good to have with the grandparents on both sides? What boundaries do we need to establish in order to have good, healthy relationships all around? Well, sir.
I would say, okay, first question is, what are you and your wife envisioning, hoping for when you bring that baby home? What is your hope? That you can stay home and isolated for a week? Or, are you expecting, people in and out all day long? Or, and again, you don't know what you don't know.
I was going to say, set up some boundaries and some ideas ahead of time and just go ahead and express, we've never done this, so it's all subject to change. Like, here's what we're thinking on the front end. And would you be patient with us?
Yeah.
Because we might scrap this whole plan and do it differently.
When I think back to when I had my first baby 19 years ago, the first few weeks were fine. And I wasn't a good housekeeper. I'm just one of those people that lives by the seat of my pants and, whatever. Schedule wasn't a thing. And then he got to the point where he was crying a lot. It just this colicky stage, probably about 6 weeks. And so Fran, my oldest, he was the first grandbaby. And my in-laws were just thrilled.
Sure.
Like they would come over
moon.
Every single night. They'd be like, you guys want ice cream? And they were bringing food and ice cream, and which was wonderful. But, I remember them coming over one time and I hadn't had time to do the dishes. And I could have easily asked my mother-in-law, would you do the
Yeah.
dishes for me. But I was too embarrassed to ask. Or there was one night that Fran was crying and I had just gotten him to stop crying. You know, it was a thing where he's in the swing with the vacuum cleaner running, and he had finally settled down and they showed up. And I should have said, this isn't a good time. He just stopped crying. And instead I was just like, oh, come on in and, you know, don't worry about it. And he, you know, we start holding him and he starts crying again. And then they hang out for a while and leave and he's still crying.
Right.
And, you know, it was just so stressful, but I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
And so being able to have a conversation with your parents or your in-laws ahead of time and say, you know what? I'm not sure how this is going to go.
Right.
And I want to be able to ask you for help when I need help. And I need to be able to say, please don't come over right now when I need to say, please don't come over right now. So please don't get your feelings hurt. Do what you can to help and just let's work on this together.
Because I believe this was a really heartfelt question. And it's really hard ahead of time to say what boundaries you're going to need or not need. I would do what Heather suggested and come up with an idea of this is what I'd like it to look like. Maybe you go to dinner with, I don't know if everybody's local, but you go to dinner with all the grandparents and be like, it's getting close to time and we just wanted to share with you, here's our ideas of what this might look like. And we don't know what we're doing. And would you be patient with us? And maybe we're probably even going to have a hard time telling you what we're feeling in the moment because emotions are going to be high and hormones are going to be high and all that. Would you be patient with us? And would you ask before you come? Because we want you to be a part of everything. We just don't know how we're going to feel. Man, I think that conversation on the front end could make it a lot easier on the back end. You're going to have to be brave to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't do it, it's fine. Just navigate your way through.
And listen, and you might have amazing parents or in-laws that are just like, yes, we're here for you, whatever you need. Or you might have parents and in-laws that get offended and say, well, if you're not going to let us come over every single day, then we won't come over at all. And you'll have to say, well, I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah.
I had I still have an amazing mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I dropped Fran off, like he was about 6 or 8 weeks old, and Whit and I are going to go out to dinner for the first time.
Yeah.
And we took him over to her house, and I'm telling her all the things. He needs a bottle every 2 hours, and his diaper change, blah, blah, blah. And she's just patiently listening
she's just
to me.
receiving
and finally, I'm like, but you know all this, don't you? And she's like, yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah. Listen, maybe you just have your have the grandparents listen to us. Let's talk a bit about it because we are probably closer to having grandchildren than having kids anymore.
There's no more babies on the horizon.
Let's toss this burden to the older generation.
Yeah.
Be patient. Love well. One thing that I respect so much of my mother-in-law was Cooper was a similar situation with Fran, and Cooper was fussy, 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 fussy. And the doctor had me put him on a really rigid schedule, just to get his bowel movements going at the right pace and things like all these. He was very rigid. And so I would let my mom or my mother-in-law watch him, but I would be like, here's the schedule. And I'm just kidding, but at 7:34, please do this and then do this and then do that. And they just, at first they kind of giggled, but both of them were like, okay. Yeah. They did everything I asked of them. By the time I had Eleanor, I was throwing her at them, whatever you do is going to be great. And they said, it was actually easier when you gave us a schedule because we knew we were doing what you wanted. And I was like, oh. Okay, so then I just started giving them a schedule again. I thought it was interesting, my schedule gave them freedom.
Boundaries give you freedom.
Boundaries. Oh, there we go again. Boundaries give freedom.
But here, and then again, to the grandmothers who think, I know everything. Your schedule is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you take care of the baby and get them off their schedule.
And then you take them home.
And then the mother has to take them home and rework a bunch of stuff. You're not doing your daughter or your daughter-in-law any favors.
Yeah.
So I would, if you're the grandmother or the aunt or something respect what the mother is, caring for the baby.
And you have a lot more wiggle room if you're the grandmother and it's your daughter having a baby. If you're the grandmother and it's your son having a baby, please. But seriously, I feel like my mom could get away with a lot more, but she would know where she could push and where she couldn't. Mm-hmm. Like if I said no sugar for the kids, Mom, she would know if I was serious or not. Or if I was like, Mom, you give them too much sugar. She'd be able to tell in my tone. Mm-hmm. I don't really care, but Grandma.
Yeah.
There's just relationship that, anyway, just be careful if you're Woo! So relationships. I'm ready to turn the page and talk about something different next season.
What are we going to talk about?
I don't know. There have been a couple of ideas coming across our screens and through our minds. But if you have enjoyed our podcast, this is what we need from you. We need you to subscribe and share, number one, because that's how we know you're paying attention and you care. We don't need anything from you, but we don't want to do this if it's not benefiting people. So subscribe and share. That will help us. And text the words Life in Motion to the number 23101. Toss us out a topic.
Yeah.
What would you like season 3 to be about? And can we give I'm going to have to look over at the producer. Can we give a sneak peek about how we would like to start season 3, or is it too early for that? We'd like to start season 3 with just one episode with an audience.
A live event.
We'd like to do a live event to kick off season 3. So we take a short break between seasons, so it'll be several weeks from now. But if you'd like to be in that audience, go ahead and text us that as well. Life in Motion to the number 23101 and just say, I want in the audience. And you're going to have to put your name and email address in that correspondence. Otherwise, it comes to us anonymously and we don't know how to reach out to you and tell you you're invited. Mm-hmm. But if you'd like to be in the audience, you don't even have to live in Tulsa. You can come from anywhere in the world and see us if you want.
Yeah, we'll welcome you.
Yeah, we'll welcome you. If you come from another state, we might have a prize for you.
If you come internationally,
we'll take you to dinner. Yeah. Dinner's on us.
Yeah, love it. That's fun.
So anyway, we have to wrap with just one last thing.
Okay.
Heather, what have you done in the last week that has brought you joy or those around you?
Was last week, were we in Dallas, or was that a week before?
It was a week and a half ago. You can use it. I know the time is going. My kids just the other day are just like, summer break is not long enough this year. And I'm like, really? We've done a lot. We're 6 weeks-ish or less from school starting. I'm gonna tell you what's bringing me joy, and it hasn't already happened, but it's coming. So I have a 7-year-old that's been to Disney World once in her life. Mm-hmm. She doesn't remember. She was too little. And Brian and I are taking her to Disney World at the end of the summer, right before school starts. And we're not taking her brothers or anything.
Just her.
Just her.
Awesome. Can I go with you?
You can. Oh. You can. Why don't you come? Bring your littles. Okay. All the littles can have fun at Disney World together. So anyway, girls trip.
Plus 2.
Yeah, plus dads, because they pay for the trip. So anyway, let's do it. So,
love it.
I mean, how fun.
Yeah.
To just have some focused time on the little one. What are you doing or have you done?
Well, we went to Dallas, which was fun. We took the 3 younger kids and did...
Elliot's really getting the best of both worlds.
He is.
He's one of the OG original 3, and he sometimes gets to do the littles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he does well.
Oh, my goodness, he's so great.
He's such a fun guy that... I say that in faith. He's such a fun guy. That he works well with everybody.
He does.
So we went to Dallas. We went to a baseball game. We went to Six Flags. We went to Hurricane Harbor. We went to the Dallas Zoo. We had a lot of fun. I think my most fun when we went to Dallas, and we were with you on and off throughout that trip, was going out to Chinese food late at night.
So too. Yeah.
We went to this little Chinese restaurant and there was outdoor seating. And so we just ordered so much food.
Yeah.
And it was fun because the kids some of them were like, I don't like Chinese.
Yeah.
We're like, just try it.
Oh, yeah.
And they loved it.
Well, Chase got a pizza at a restaurant next door, ate his pizza, shared a few pieces with some people, and then was like, I'll try that dumpling. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Family style, just get a bunch of stuff and everybody eat. That was fun.
Yeah.
So let's do that again.
Let's do it soon.
Let's go to lunch right now. I'm just kidding. Anyway, thanks for listening to us all season long. Even though we're taking a short break, our counterparts, Spirit in Motion, is still dropping an episode each and every week. So make sure if you subscribe to us, you're subscribed to them. You'll get to watch their episodes. They're almost as good as we are. You're going to love it. So we'll see you next season. Thanks.